Old School Lane Casual Chats is brought to you by oldsschoollane.blogspot.com and is associated with Channel Frederator, Manic Expression, the Comic Book Cast, and the reopened Nickelodeon Studios in Orlando, Florida Facebook page. Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Casual Chats. I am Patricia and I'm here with a very special guest. He is animator, creator, he is a children's book author, and the creator of Rocko's Modern Life, Camp Lazlo, and various projects. We have Joe Murray. Welcome aboard, Joe.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
So, I was wondering, where did you get your influences for doing animation or art?
Well, I've always been an artist since the time I can remember. I was 6 years old, drawing on everything I could find, and you started getting into cartoons and watching cartoons and getting into the comics and the newspaper, and I decided I wanted to be a cartoonist. Pretty young age, and there was more comic strips that I wanted to do at the time, but it's kind of a dying industry back then still. And so I started drawing. My first job when I was 16 was drawing caricatures at an amusement park, and then I started drawing illustrations for an advertising agency. So I've been lucky enough to always have a job in art. And then I started in the 80s, late 80s, I started animating my stuff, doing little independent films that started showing in festivals, and that was what led me to Rocko, that they found. They came across my independent films and asked me if I had any ideas to do television.
Now, were you always encouraged to do art, or were you constantly told that you couldn't do this, you should go into a more professional career, like maybe being a doctor or something?
Right, yeah. Yeah, my father wasn't too excited about me wanting to be an artist. He thought it wasn't a very good choice. And it was he tried to steer me at, we grew up in San Jose, and some of the tech companies started coming in, the computer companies, and he kept telling me the future's in computers, which is true. But it was one of those things that I didn't feel like there was anything else I was destined to do. I just felt like I needed to be an artist, and I was going to make it as an artist. And no matter what my dad said, I was pretty determined to make it.
So I take it, like episodes such as I Have No Son in Rocko's Modern Life were pretty autobiographical.
It wasn't just me. It was a lot of people on the crew that it was autobiographical. It's funny because I have a daughter who's going to art college right now. She's going to Parsons in New York, and she wants to be an artist as a career. And even myself, not listening to my dad about whether I wanted to be, that I was going to be an artist. I still find myself as a father, like, are you sure you want to do this? But I think part of it is it's a tough road, and it's not easy. It's something that's it's very competitive, and at first it doesn't pay very well, and sometimes even if you've been doing it a long time, it doesn't pay very well. So you have to really love it, it's something that either you do it or you don't do it. You're either committed to it or you're not committed to it. And I always felt that I was going to make something of it. So
Yeah, I definitely do agree. I've been doing the podcast since 2011, and my cohort and I, we didn't get any recognition whatsoever, but we kept doing it because we absolutely loved it. And, as time went on, we slowly started getting recognized by various people. And, we even still to this day, we don't make a lot. I mean, we can't make a living off of it. We still have full-time jobs, but we still love it nonetheless. And we've made a lot of great friends and colleagues and good acquaintances who work on the same industry as yours, and even former and current Nickelodeon writers and producers and directors and all that stuff. And it's been a wonderful experience getting to know the behind-the-scenes stories of all these shows, and just sharing it with everybody. I think that's what my friend and I, we wanted to do in the first place. We wanted to produce our content because we wanted to make people happy, and we wanted to show them that we liked it just as much as we did, and that we told everybody that we've interviewed of how much we appreciate, your guys' work.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So going into Rocko's Modern Life, what have been some of your favorite episodes of the series?
Of the original series when it came out?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Wacky Deli and I Have No Son were some of my favorites. We did half-hour versions of those, and I wrote those, and I felt like they were pretty deep. Who's for Dinner, which we approached the idea of adoption, I thought was pretty good. Anytime that we were like delving into some waters that were at the time not too frequented by an animated show, especially a children's animated show, I was really into trying to break some new ground and do something that was different and resonated differently than other shows. And so the ones that took chances, I think, were always my favorite.
Oh, absolutely. I think so, too. And that's why a lot of people still regard Rocko's Modern Life as a show that took risks and that broke the mold when it came to a lot of the programs that were out at the time. I mean, Wacky Deli especially, I see so many people discussing about it and the eccentricities of, working in the animation studio and all the things that have changed and have not changed. And especially, when eventually they show off what the final product was for Wacky Deli and how incredibly non sequitur it was.
Yeah, the actual, the new special that we're doing is kind of a spin-off a bit from Wacky Deli and Have No Son, because it's got Ralph Bighead in it. And the whole idea is that the network wants Ralph to bring back a special for the show he finished off 20 years ago. So it was a pretty easy one to write, and has a lot of stuff that resonates today as far as media is concerned, and what Ralph's been up to for the past 20 years.
Oh, yeah, especially with all the other characters. I guess we can, discuss about that. I mean, I'm sure for anybody who... They saw the trailer over at San Diego Comic-Con, and that was, like, one of the biggest things that was talked about. And I remember a lot of people were really excited about it. So, yeah, I'm actually really curious. So... The episode takes place after Future Schlock, where Rocko, Heifer, and Filbert are going around in space after the rocket crashed into Rocko's house, and now they're finally back. So, is it like rewriting Future Schlock, as in like the episode never happened? Because we didn't see, I mean, if I remember, it was Filbert's kids were the ones who controlled the rocket, and that was how it crashed, and we didn't see them come out of the rocket, so I assume that part of the episode didn't happen because, I mean, and I don't mean to go incredibly geeky over here, but, so let's just assume that, the last episode took place in 1996, that's when it aired, and it's 17 years in the future, which would be the year 2013. So if Rocko, Heifer, and Filbert were going around in space for 22 years, then technically they will be landing in the year 2045. So I take it that's the case, that it's rewriting Future Schlock, or it didn't happen, or, I mean, I know that I'm acting completely crazy and nerdy over here, but yeah, I'm actually curious about that. I left this guy speechless. I'm so sorry, everybody.
No, we thought about that when we said, well, they go off into space and all the technicalities of. We actually have it at the beginning of the episode. We talk about that the kids got dropped off at the pool, and it's kind of. Really, really big man comes on and tells what's happened to our heroes while they were out in space, and so we're kind of trying to. But yeah, the 17 years and the 20 years thing doesn't really pan out. But it's a cartoon, so what can you say?
Sure, why not? But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens to all the other characters. I was doing a podcast with a colleague of mine, and we were, talking about like predictions that we would like to see for the characters and what would happen in the story. So, yeah, I'm personally looking forward to it. And one of them that I would like to see, personally, because of course, with Filbert, I mean, it would be interesting to see what happens when he goes back to Dr. Hutchinson and he asks about, he goes back to her and she's like a little upset that she had to raise the 4 kids by herself. And they're probably off in college or something. They probably didn't even know who he was. Maybe he feels a little regret. And maybe with Rocko, we see at the beginning that Rocko is still trying to figure out who he is in this new world. I mean, like the 2010s at this point, with the increased obsession with social media and with people going over to various places like Starbucks and cell phones and what have you. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing Rocko's journey into this. So, yeah, I'm really, and, looking into, like what you were saying before about Ralph Bighead's project that he's been working on. And, yeah, I'm really looking forward to what this movie has in store.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with it. It's when I first came on to when Nickelodeon called me and asked me if I wanted to do it, I didn't know if it was really something that I should do, because I liked all the episodes we'd already done, and those were pretty special, and why not just leave it at that? And I started talking to some of the other guys on the old Rocko, like Doug Lawrence and Martin Olson, and they were pretty excited about seeing how Rocko would respond to this century, and I started seeing what the possibilities could be. So I wrote up a story, and it was kind of like, this is a story that I want to do. I would hope that Nickelodeon. I was a little apprehensive about what Nickelodeon was going to be like to work with now, because I feel like the types of shows that they're doing are not anything close to Rocko, and whether they would try and change it into something else. And but they bought off on the idea for the story, and they were really great to work with. They let me do a lot of stuff I wanted to do, and so the special is just as edgy and weird and funny as the original.
Well, that's fantastic. The one thing that I was really impressed by when that was when the San Diego Comic-Con panel was going on, and you were talking at first, when you first saw the final product, that the colors were really bright, and you were questioning about that, and then your director said it's in HD, Joe. And I remember hearing the story about how Nickelodeon allowed you to paint the backgrounds by hand as opposed to doing it by computers, and that's another major standout, because you don't see a lot of that anymore, because a lot of it nowadays is used by computers and using the Wacom tablet, so you can be able to draw and have everything digital. So yeah, I just spoke to Eric Malinsky, who was a storyboard artist on Klasky Csupo a couple of days ago, and he would talk about how in the old days, when they used to do the storyboards for various cartoons, depending on which one, they would get the recordings of the actors in cassettes, and then they would, kind of like reenact the way that the scene should be played out. And I even follow a few storyboarders online who are currently working on today's shows, and it's completely different with using like Wacom tablets. So I'm really impressed that Nickelodeon was allowed you to do the backgrounds via hand drawing, because it looks absolutely incredible. The animation is really popping. It flows really nicely. It's really smooth. So I have to give props for that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we have Cosmo Segerson is the director. He was one of my directors on Camp Lazlo, and I brought him on to direct the special. And since I've been kind of pulled in 50 different directions, he's been really he studied all of the old Rockos, and we had a bunch of people on the staff that were old Rocko heads, and made sure that we flew in the right direction with a lot of things, and I really wanted it to look and feel the same exact way. So, yeah, it was actually kind of hard to find some people who painted traditionally, took out a brush and actually dipped it in paint. It was kind of hard.
Oh, I can definitely understand.
Yeah, but there was one painter, Adriana Galvez, who was one of our original painters on Rocko. She came back and painted backgrounds, and she kind of taught everybody else how to do it the Rocko way. So that was good.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, so I actually have a few more questions. So, were there any episodes of Rocko that you wanted to do but couldn't do it either because of censorship, or you ran out of maybe like time constraints, or the idea just didn't go through?
Not really. I don't, I've been asked that question before. I don't really feel, that was actually one of the first things that they asked me when they asked if I would do a special, and they said, are there any episodes that you feel like you wanted to do but never did? And I don't really feel that way. There were episodes that I did that I never thought I would do. I never thought I would do a recycling musical. And the actual last episode, it was kind of a running gag. I used to say, if Rocko ever goes up into space, that's going to mean that the show's over, because that's the last thing that I ever wanted to do. And he went up into space. So I felt like we were done. I actually do feel like we had done everything that I wanted to do with a series. We only did 4 seasons worth, but I feel like that they were really good episodes, and it takes a lot of effort and passion on everybody's side to do something in volume environment. You do 52 episodes of something, it's not like the same like Simpsons, who I think they have 2,000.
Well, at least over 3,000 at this point.
Yeah, I don't know how many episodes they have. But, and even SpongeBob, I don't know how many they're up to now, but, I don't know. I felt good about what we did. So I never felt like it was unfinished business ever. I was like totally content, which is why I didn't know if I wanted to even do a special. So.
I completely understand, because I remember an interview that you did back in 2009 in which you were asked the same question, and you said that you were doing different projects and you moved on to do other things. In fact, Tom Kenny, Carlos Ellis Rocky, and Charlie Adler showed up at Florida SuperCon, which is a convention that I go to. It's in Miami, and they were actually asked this question about if Rocko's Modern Life were to ever come back, maybe on Netflix or something, would you do it? And I think Tom or Carlos, I don't remember who, and he said, Joe Murray is a genius. He works on a whole bunch of things. He's currently doing like some sort of like comic book series online, and he always believes about creating new things and moving forward. So yeah, I feel that as a creator and as a person who is constantly having new ideas coming into your mind, I can completely understand about if you're finished with something, then you just move on to the next thing. And I mean, sure, you get compliments about your projects, whether it be Rocko or Lazlo, and you really do appreciate the fans. And maybe if you want to have them come back one more time, maybe for a special or maybe for like a little short or something, then yeah, I think that should leave the fans really happy to know that there's still a lot of care into it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to go back in and do these to revisit these old characters and to do it. But I have progressed, and I found that there were certain sensibilities that I have 20 years later that, I would suggest that they go a different way, and sometimes I would get pulled back by Cosmo and say, that's not the way Rocko was, but this is who I am now, and so I want to do this, and it's interesting to try and revamp an old project with everything that you've gone through. After Rocko was done, I went back to art college. I spent a few years, retooling my painting, and I started doing some children's books and started doing more independent films, and your sensibilities just start changing, and I learned a lot from a lot of these different projects that I've worked on, and now I'm doing an educational TV project, which is completely different.
Oh yeah, I was just about to mention about that. I heard the news last week that you're doing one called Luna Around the World. That's actually pretty interesting because I know I've spoken to Craig Bartlett a few times over the years, and he was doing Dinosaur Planet and Ready, Jet, Go right before he was called in to do the Jungle movie. So, because of those shows, it introduced his work for a brand new generation, and I think that's a great thing that, kids are able to see, the work that he did. So yeah, why don't you talk about that show? We'd love to know about it.
Well, it was kind of Linda Saminsky, who I had worked with at Nickelodeon, and then when I came over to Cartoon Network, she was there at the beginning. Moved over to PBS, and we had remained friends, and she's always trying to recruit me into something, but I've been seeing how the world has been. And I had this idea for a show that taught younger kids about other cultures around the world, and that other people live differently but the same. And I felt like it was necessary, and definitely after the election, it's even more essential now than it ever was.
Oh, absolutely.
That we accept other people and understand that America is not the only country in the world, and that we're all together on this planet, and we need to come together as a community. So I pitched this show to PBS, and they really liked it, and definitely the character designs are still kind of Rocko-esque. It's kind of funny, but it's aimed at a younger audience, and it has a curriculum that I feel really good about. We're the first show that's doing it was the first show for PBS that is storyboard driven. And I don't know if you're familiar with the difference between storyboard driven, but we write the show in storyboard.
Yes, I do know the difference between storyboard and script, because with storyboards, you have everything written, and then you draw everything out, and then you reenact what's going on. With scripts, you gather up together and you read off what the episode is going to be about. As mentioned before, we've had various storyboard artists on our podcast. We just had Eric Malinsky. In a couple of weeks, we'll be having Darren McGowan, who is currently working on The Loud House. So, it's really different with both of them. They work in different ways depending on what show that you're working on. If it's script-based, it's more for something comedic like The Simpsons. If it's storyboard, then it's the traditional thing to do with various cartoons, especially one that requires a lot of action, a lot of movement, a lot of slapstick. So I had no idea that for PBS, especially, that it was it relied on script base. I thought it was storyboard. I didn't even know that.
It's all scripted. And when you're dealing with, because we have to have curriculum advisors. We have an anthropologist on our staff that makes sure that we get everything right about the cultures and whatnot. And everybody on the crew is always doing research to make sure that everything is correct. And so it's kind of interesting to meld the two together. And scripts are usually an easier way of making sure all your facts are straight. And it's a little bit more difficult when you're dealing with a storyboard process. But, it makes it for a funnier show, but it also, we're still teaching something, and it's got a lot of visual humor, which I really like, and I think kids are really going to like it. And I've got a 4-year-old that he'll watch a PBS show just deadpanned face, and then he'll turn around and watch like a Donald Duck or something and start laughing out loud. And it's like, why can't a PBS show like make a kid laugh out loud too? It should be able to do that.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you're a parent, you want the best for your kids. I remember reading an article many years ago about how the guys who eventually created Yo Gabba Gabba, they saw that kids shows were just incredibly pandering, and they wanted something that is not only fun, but it's educational, that you can learn something while at the same time you can be able to dance and sing and whatever. And so they created that show because they wanted something fun for their kids. So it's nice to know that, not only do you want to educate, your kid, but for kids all over the world and teach them something while at the same time have humor in it, which, it definitely sounds a little bit like if Carmen Sandiego was, had a mixture between going around the world and learning culture, but at the same time having fun moments like Rocko. So yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun, and I wish you the best of luck with that.
Thanks. Yeah, well, the whole main thing is the moon comes down and hangs out with the kids wherever they go. So that's where Luna comes in, and she's kind of Mary Poppins type, really like a big sister, fun, clumsy moon type. So it's pretty funny. I like it. We're having a good time with it. But it's kind of funny to be I'm about to go run over to Nickelodeon and look at Rocko film. So I'm here at the show for PBS right now, and I'm going to have to switch gears and deal with different audiences.
Sure. I mean, that's fantastic, because I feel, in my personal opinion, I feel like having a mixture with both audiences gives a nice balance. If you're introducing something for maybe the generation who grew up with Rocko, and then maybe, if they have kids of their own, they could introduce them to the new special or your program at PBS. So it's basically multi-generational. So, yeah.
Right.
I don't want to waste too much of your time, Joe. I know you're a really busy guy, so I think we can wrap things up. So, yeah, thank you so much for joining in on the podcast. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Where can people find you at?
They can keep up with my blog at joemurraystudio.com, and I'm on Facebook. The Facebook stuff is, I usually try and put as much as I can on what's going on with the latest special and whatnot. And sometimes I duck in on the Rocko pages and scare people.
Awesome. All right. Well, that should be it for this episode of Casual Chats. Let us know in the comments below about your memories of Joe Murray's work, whether it be Rocko, whether it be Camp Lazlo, whether it be any of his independent films or his children's books or his comic books. What are you looking forward to? The Rocko's Modern Life TV movie or the new program on PBS? Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Hope to see you around soon, and take care.